Hi, I'm Dr. Gail Randall. I'm here at 6 o'clock for my Instagram TV, and I just want to introduce myself. I'm a board-certified internist, gastroenterologist, and what I like to say most, of course, functional medicine doctor, but this is my favorite part because I'm an integrative practitioner. And back in the day when I was at UCLA, and I was promoting integrative medicine. I was on television for it. I called it integrated medicine for the first time. People thought I was witched out or wiggy or something. And now look, you can get a board certification in it. So I'm very proud of that, and I'm very happy about that for all of us, for you, for anybody that seeks out proper medicine and approach to their issues, health issues. Hi everybody, thanks for joining us. Hi Suzanne. Anyway, this is a great day for medicine. It's a great day for us, physically, mentally, and emotionally, and physically. So let's fill that in. You know, if you look back on my Instagram TVs, there's a number of shows that are almost prerequisites for this show, which I'm going to talk about probiotics and their importance. And they're much more important than we ever thought they were, once again. And Happy Gut, Happy Life is a big one you should listen to. I listened to it, I thought, wow, there's so much information in that show that it even surprised me, and I gave it, so it's kind of interesting. Go check that out. It's a prerequisite for these other shows, but also a prerequisite for life, because all health begins in the gut, and you should watch it over and over again. I'm going to watch it over and over, because it even tells me stuff. It's like the time I took my final in animal physiology in college, and the teacher had to change the grades, so I basically got 140%. Otherwise, a lot of people would have failed. It was an essay test, and I chose the liver, and I wrote down everything I knew about the liver, and it was much more than he said that he even knew. So that's kind of cool. It's just my brain. But we're going to talk about our probiotics, which of course super relates to the gut. Everybody thinks about the gut when they think about probiotics, but we know now it's much more than that the probiotics do much more than balance your gut. Of course, that's super important, and we'll talk about that, but it does so many more things, and I'm going to tell you what those are today. I want to give special thanks to Dr. Isaac Elias, because he gave me the idea to do this, and I borrowed some of his knowledge. He's a brilliant doctor in integrative medicine as well, and thank you, Isaac, for that. I'm also going to, refer back to my stuff that I've written about and talked about earlier. It's the Happy Gut, Happy Life, where you should start, and then watch the subsequent ones on our planet and our diet, gut, planet connection. Those are really informative. Will teach you a lot how to live, and what also will help the planet. Because what is good for us is good for the planet. The name of my book, if you remember, is Soul Doctoring, Heal Yourself, Heal the Planet. I think a lot of that, though, relates to, yes, how we eat, yes, how we raise food, and all that stuff. It's all in those prior shows. But it's also about when you practice integrative medicine, when you are the subject of integrative medicine, it grows your mind and your emotions. And when you get to a certain point, when you're better, when you're healed, that you begin to connect with the planet. You begin to connect with the things that you're eating, and you begin to think about what is the best way for me to eat so that the planet can be healthy. And you connect with other people. And this connection or connectedness is the key thing that leads us to realize we are a collective. We are a collective of humans, and if we can collect and come together with that thought, and beneficial thought, that also heals the planet. That's a direct way to heal the planet that we can do together, because we're all of the same breed of cat, in a sense. So that's another way to heal the planet. If we all get together in our mind that, we're here to be the guardian of this place, of this planet, and do things that we can do. There are many, many things that we can do. One of them is just to have a beneficial intent toward our planet. We can all do that. It changes the electromagnetics of the planet and of us. And that is a huge step forward. And then that manifests things that we can do, like, grow food in a different way that doesn't destroy the planet. And you can do that by voting with your dollar. You buy the right food. You buy organic food. You buy regeneratively raised meat. And that brings about that change on the planet. You start to use things like solar energy or hybrid cars or electric cars. All these things that take down carbon and put it into the earth instead of taking it out is what heals the planet. The planet is our source, not our resource. She's an energy, and she'll help guide us which way to go. So, hi Francesca. Hi Ellen. So anyway, we're going to talk about total body health benefits of probiotics today. Like I said, most people think about their gut, and of course it does impact the gut a lot, and there are a lot of things that it impacts in the gut, which is not just digestion. Most people think, oh, I need those for digestion. You need them for way more than digestion. You need them for your mood. 70% of your neurotransmitters, which create your mood, come from your gut. And if you don't have certain organisms, you don't make GABA, which is calming. You don't make serotonin. And those are your fight or flight neurotransmitter buffers to stress. So you see another thing there. And a lot of people will say, well, it has been shown that they don't really work. What's been shown is that when they studied people that didn't take them correctly and didn't have the proper environment in their gut, they didn't work. So you got to be specific about why they didn't work. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So new research is showing a whole host of benefits, showing just how important probiotics are for our health, many different ways. They strengthen your gut lining. Well, we knew that, or I think we knew that. They keep a large undigested food pieces, bacteria, and other pathogens, toxins, harmful invaders from leaking into your bloodstream. Because if they did, then you'd have a leaky gut, wouldn't you? We talked about that in the past, but it's good to re-mention these things. So they create essential short-chain fatty acids, which is the food for your liver and actually the food for themselves and our gut lining. If we don't have the right amount of short-chain fatty acids, our gut lining is not a happy camper. And that's how we partly get to leaky gut syndrome. So you need the probiotics to make those short-chain fatty acids. Health begins in the gut, as I mentioned. And when you don't take care of your gut, it creates disease. They're very important markers of health and longevity. That's the gut microbiome. It's said we're 99% bacteria. 99% bacteria, and the rest is what? Us. Our cells far outnumbered by the number of bacteria that we carry around with us. Now, we used to be what we ate. It was what you ate. We'd scavenge and we'd eat things that were partially dirty. They had dirt on them. Those are now known as Spore Biotics when you buy them in the store. Very important. The Spore Biotics is how we used to repopulate ourselves. We roam around and eat kind of dirty stuff, you know, carrots and yams and potatoes, and pick berries off trees, and that's what made us healthy. Now we don't have that. We live in 4 square walls. All our food is microwaved, plastic wrapped, irradiated, and, you know, we need to think about, what's going on here? So we need to put back what once was for biomimicry, to replace and mimic nature, and that makes us more healthy. The human microbiome is the fastest area of research in science right now. I mean, you know, before, I wanted to mention this too, at UCLA, I was studying the microbiome, and I was looking at it in people with a company called, at that time, Great Smokies. And everybody thought, you know, what are you doing? No, nobody cares about that. Gastroenterologists were all squeaky clean now because they did colonoscopies, everybody took purges, and they didn't want anything to do with poop. And here I was studying poop. And I said, well, you know, I think it makes a difference. I think, you know, it really came to me through a patient, like a lot of things do. This patient came in, she had a little bit of high blood sugar, a high hemoglobin A1C, and she had the worst yeast you ever saw. She was sent to me from Kaiser. Now, does Kaiser send patients to UCLA? No, they rarely do. Only if they've done everything that they can possibly do and couldn't figure it out. This woman's hands grew, her abdomen was super bloated and grew, her feet grew. So they thought she had some kind of endocrine problem, but maybe a gastroenterologic problem because of the bloating. And I asked her, she came with a chart like this big. I like that. They sit it down, and I go, wow, look at all the things we don't have to do. Because all these tests were normal. MRI, she had the super $1 billion workup, and they found nothing. And so, you know, I asked her, did anybody ever look at your poop culture? She goes, oh, no, nobody ever did that. I said, did anyone do a pelvic on you? She goes, no, just my usual tests. Nothing really out of the ordinary. I said, okay, let's do those 2 things, start with, because I see you have normal blood tests here, you have all kind of things, maybe a little bit of high blood sugar. When I did her pelvic, the janitor could have seen she had yeast. It was abundant, let's say. And she also had yeast in her stool. Big surprise. So she was a nurse by trade, but she had lost her ability cognitively to be a nurse because she had this terrible brain fog. Well, a lot of people know that comes along with yeast infections. So I treated her yeast infection, and I cleared up her brain, and I reduced her stomach size, and her hand growth, and her feet growth, and she shrunk down to normal again. Miraculous. If what you don't look for, you don't find. So if you look for it and you find it and you treat it, a lot of times you can resolve the problems. This woman was so happy. She traveled around the world and sent me a postcard from every place she went because her life came back. I like that story because it shows, you know. And so I went on with my stool testing in my career to try to show that the dysbiosis was probably the cause of a lot of what we called IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. Because we said most of irritable bowel syndrome is unexplainable. Take this antidepressant and go see a psychiatrist. And these poor people are suffering from an imbalance or a leaky gut or dysbiosis, which means an imbalance in the flora in your gut. And they're not taking the flora. They're not repopulating themselves. So something that can be so simply accessed just by getting a poop sample was entirely ignored when it was in my training. Isn't that amazing? And now it's on the cover of Newsweek and Time magazine. Microbiome. You know, it's all the rage, and it's good. It's good. I'm really glad, you know, and people are studying it. We're getting closer and closer to know what bugs do what, and I'm going to tell you some of those tonight. So there are proven ways that probiotics enhance your health, and the first one of the most important ones, because there's something like 434 billion people in the world that have diabetes type 2, and probiotics can help that. They can help control the blood sugar, they can help reduce the hemoglobin A1C, and what they do is these specific microbes take the blood from the bloodstream and cause it to move into the cells, and that is energy production. So that is a very cool thing. So they reduce the fasting blood sugar, they reduce the hemoglobin A1C, and they boost the insulin sensitivity and control insulin resistance. I'm for that. They also balance cholesterol. The body needs the right amount of cholesterol. Of course, too much cholesterol is not good, because it coats your red cells and increases the resistance in your endothelium, which is the lining of your blood vessels. And that you don't want. You don't want. It makes you feel crummy. It could give you heart disease. So the body needs the right amount of cholesterol, but not too much, not too little. Probiotics help keep the cholesterol and the triglyceride in balance by raising the HDL. That's high density lipoprotein. That's the good cholesterol. So you want that to be, for men, you want that to be 50 or above optimally. For women, you want it to be 55 or above optimally. So be sure you're on probiotics if you have a little bit of a cholesterol problem. It balances the total cholesterol levels. It reduces the LDL, or the bad cholesterol. And that's the one that will coat your cells and your endothelium. It lowers the high triglyceride levels. So that's all a very good thing. That's just a little bug can help you do that. They're really, we're supposed to live with them. We're really more of a host for these bacteria, and we don't do well without them. So we need them. Again, I told you before, they create these short-chain fatty acids that lower the cholesterol production in the liver. They help metabolize bile acids, forcing the liver to use the cholesterol to make more bile acids. So that's a very productive thing, because the bile acids help digestion, and it gives the bacteria something to do. Can you imagine how much evolution it took to get that? I mean, nature is so wonderful, so amazing. So it's making the liver use the cholesterol to make bile acids. And that helps prevent fatty liver. So you don't have to drink to get fatty liver, which is, of course, not healthy. But you can be a little overweight, you can have a high blood sugar, or you can have an imbalanced gut and get fatty liver. So let's put those bacteria to work and make more bile acids so we digest better and get rid of that fatty liver, because we do not want that. And they consume cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, inside the gut. So that's pretty cool. So they help with weight loss, they help with cholesterol, they help control the body weight. And this particular bacteria, two of them I'm talking about, are Bifidobacterium lactis, and Buizo, Buzo. So look at your probiotics, see if it's in there. There are specific probiotics for weight loss, and if they're for that, they should have that in there. So check that out. Write it down. Research also shows that probiotic bacteria support healthy blood pressure. Really? I didn't know that. How do they do that? So they help the blood vessels stay flexible. Well, that kind of makes sense, because if they're controlling the cholesterol, it's not coating the endothelium in the red cells, so the lining of your arteries remain more flexible. So that makes your blood pressure not be as high, right? Does that make sense? And it makes sense to me. And they also reduce elevated blood pressure by reducing the TMAO. TMAO is an inflammatory molecule that comes primarily from eating meat. Eggs, fish, meat, and poultry. So if you gather too much of this TMAO in your bloodstream, you're going to become inflammatory. So you want to be sure you're on probiotics if you have high blood pressure, because maybe some of that is going on. Also reduce your meat products, and your blood pressure will probably go down. So in addition to balancing cholesterol and blood pressure, probiotics also support your cardiovascular system as a whole by reducing the harmful levels of the TMAO. Even regardless of the diet, they will reduce the harmful levels, and they do that by and the CRP, which is an inflammatory marker in your cell. You may know that in your blood. So they do that by making your free radicals more susceptible to antioxidants. And antioxidants basically come from fruit and vegetables, and free radicals are basically very reactive molecules that come from oxidative processes in your body. They also can come from high meat diets, and you can cancel them out by eating, a high amount of antioxidants, because they add an electron to these free radicals and they cancel them all. They become non-reactive. So that's the way to eat, is to reduce the meat, because that's where the TMAO comes from. Add the antioxidants from fruits and vegetables, or berries, or resveratrol is a very good source, and cancel out those free radicals, because they can damage DNA. And they not only damage DNA, they can lead to diabetes, they can lead to inflammation, hypertension, heart disease, neurodegenerative disorders, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, cancer, and some of the environmental ones are things like ozone and pesticides. So keep your antioxidants high. That's going to help you, as well as the probiotics. So they reduce the inflammation in your liver and improve your liver health and help reduce non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is NAFLD. They will also reduce liver scarring, fibrosis. These little bugs, they help reduce the severity of patients with end-stage liver disease, even, and help prevent and treat liver cancer. That's magic. That's really magic. Sorry. Been out in the wind. Probiotics play a role in gut health, appetite control, and metabolism. So it's no wonder they can have a dramatic effect on your weight. So they can help reduce, some people say, I am so hungry all the time. What can I do about that? Well, I give them those probiotics I mentioned to you before to help reduce weight. And they do exactly that. Hi, Yvonne. So they prevent obesity, they promote weight loss, they lower your BMI, and they have been proven to reduce waist measurements. And so that's a big deal. We have those at Randall Wellness also. So the cognitive issue is a big deal. I mean, a lot of people say, oh, Dr. Randall, I can't remember a darn thing. And first I go through the, stress list, and then I go through the hormone list, but there's also the probiotic list, because in the gut is a direct pathway by which your GI system influences your neurologic system and vice versa. I know I explained in one Instagram TV show how the dendrites connect with your brain because they surround your gut and they stick their little fingers inside your gut. So there's always a brain-gut connection. These little dendrites, which are nerve cells which reside outside the gut, but they always have their finger on the pulse, so to speak. And then they transmit neurologic information up these dendrites, eventually all gather in the vagus nerve and go up to your brain. And so your brain always is getting info from your gut. And if your gut is imbalanced and not happy, guess what? You're not happy. So when you feel something like a mood issue, it could be related to your gut environment and your probiotics. So think about that. Because your gut bacteria have a huge effect on your thinking, your emotions, and it has to do with the healthy population of beneficial microbes. I had a guy that I worked with for a while, a doctor, and he made what he called mood probiotics, and it was a real thing. He went to tribes, and he found where, the people are happy, and they eat mostly roots, things like that, and what he found in their poop was specific bacteria, Lactobacillus helveticus, Roselle 52 ND, Bifidobacter longum, and Roselle 175. So those are the ones to look for. If you have mood issues, you can cure it with probiotics. So Lactobacillus helveticus, Roselle 52 ND, Bifidobacter longum, and Roselle 175. And I found in my practice that people did cope better with stressful situations. It supported their positive emotion and their emotional wellness. And those particular bacteria too also get rid of the bad bacteria, and they help balance the cytokines, which are inflammatory cells in your gut. Now, when your gut has cytokines in it, or you have cytokines anywhere in your body, you're usually not a happy person. Those cytokines attract white cells, which release more cytokines, and those are not happy molecules. And then your brain senses it through those little dendrite messengers that have their fingers on the pulse, send it to your brain, and your brain goes, we're not happy. So when you are in that kind of a mode, think about it and ask your integrative practitioner, or look it up, or go look at the health food store if you can't do that. Okay, so they also, as I said, improve symptoms of depression and anxiety. These are probiotics we're talking about. Amazing. The other role of probiotics is they strengthen bones and joints. And by doing so, they help prevent osteoporosis. They do it by increasing healthy bone turnover. So in other words, the bad bone gets taken down, and new, stronger bone gets put up. So anybody with osteoporosis should be on probiotics. They also reduce joint pain, just directly, all by themselves, and probably through reducing those cytokines, which are the inflammatory cells. So they remove the old, brittle bone cells and replace them with fresh, new, healthy bone cells. That's pretty cool. I like that. They reduce the fracture healing time, they reduce the risk for fracture, and they increase bone density. As you know, women are not the only ones that get osteoporosis, by the way. There's 10-20% of men that get it too. So you're not immune. They reduce osteoarthritis pain. Again, that's probably through the cytokine mechanism. And I have, for many years, used probiotics in inflammatory bowel disease. Being a gastroenterologist, it's one of my major pillars. It's like very strong, biologically available turmeric, either water-soluble or the fat-soluble kind I have in my store, Randall Wellness Store on Facebook. But it's what that equates to is a high level of free curcuminoids in the bloodstream. So that's what we're really after, is that high level of free curcuminoids, and then also to have the right bacteria. You know, the good bacteria, this is another interesting thing that you really need to know about. Even under the best of conditions, they only last for like 2 weeks. So you need to constantly put them in there. You need to constantly repopulate. They have no way of hanging on. They don't have flagella or little hooks or nothing. They float. And if, you know, they go out, and you need to put them back. So that's how it goes. And I guess that's the way nature made it, because we were constantly repopulating ourselves as we, you know, like the buffalo roam. They grazed, they constantly repopulated themselves, and we roamed, you know, or however we did it, and we constantly repopulated our guts. They also help in conditions like rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, which kind of speaks to them being a neurologic thing, and of course we talked about mental health, and lupus erythematosus. So those are all profound conditions, and if something like a probiotic can help, I'm gonna push on that. They help prevent and treat cancer. Huge. Probiotics are proving particularly important in the fight against cancer. Research shows the right probiotics can help prevent and treat cancer, reduce side effects from chemotherapy, and help improve outcomes. Yay. So they help prevent specifically colorectal cancer, breast cancer, prostate cancer, and lung cancer. So that's a very cool thing. And the right probiotic formula does matter. So it's not like, okay, any probiotic, or okay, I'm going to eat fermented foods. That's all good. That's all good. I don't say no. But there are, hi Mackenzie, there are specific ones that do help. So I'm going to tell you what they are. It looks like research is showing right now, we're getting closer and closer, but this is where we stand now. And in my practice, I have this formula, Randall Wellness, Synbiotic, it's called. And it has Bifidobacter longum, Lactobacillus acidophilus, Lactobacillus manosus, so it's MAMNOSUS, Lactobacillus salvarius, Lactobacillus lactis, Bifidobacter lactis, Strep thermophilus, Lactobacillus plantarum, Lactobacillus paracasei, Lactobacillus reuteri, and Bifidobacter bifidum. So B. bifidum. So look for those on the probiotic that you buy. So also you want to look for a probiotic that has prebiotic nutrients right in it. Mine does, called Sun Fiber, and So what that means, it's already going to be in there, stuff to help the probiotic survive, make more short-chain fatty acids, and hang out a little longer. So it's usually some kind of live fermented liquid formula that that feeds the bacteria, that's there to feed them, or partially digested something, or inulin, those kind of things. And the other thing that's really interesting is probiotics are essential for sleep. If you don't have GABA and serotonin, you don't sleep well. You don't sleep well at all. You need those two neurotransmitters. We are human, so we're born with a thymus, which is somewhere in here, and by the time we're toddlers, all those bacteria in there have moved into your gut in these long chains called Peyer's patches, basically lymph nodes, but they are T cells. They did come from the gut, and they are responsible for 70% of our immunity. So our immunity comes from our gut. Our mood comes from our gut. So it's all there in the gut. And so we need to take care of that gut, right? The neurotransmitters come from the gut. And, so when you feel you have a gut feeling, believe it, you have a gut feeling. Remember those dendrites with their little fingers in there? They're feeling the change. They're feeling the bacteria. They're feeling the chemicals. And if you don't have serotonin and GABA, or you don't have the right bugs, then your brain gets unhappy. And you think it's, whatever's around you, that person or that situation. But it's a gut feeling. That's what it is, because those are real. So, eat right, do what you have to do to keep your gut balanced, take the right probiotics, and try to avoid stress. Remember I said probiotics help treat stress? Well, we need that right now. We do. We need that right now more than ever. So go find one, a good one, or call me. There's a few other things that can help with gut problems I wanted to talk about. And it's herbal. I really love fennel as an herb because it promotes healthy digestion, promotes healthy, good bacteria, and it also, when you have an upset stomach, I don't know if any of you had grandmas, but your grandma probably gave you fennel tea. It can calm down your gut, soothe your gut, and reduce inflammation. Ginger is another one that delivers relief from digestive upset and nausea. Not everybody can tolerate. I actually can't tolerate ginger. It's too hot for me. I'm just too hot. But it doesn't work for me. But the fennel really works for me. So, everybody's different. Wear your shoes if they fit. Chamomile helps eliminate gas and bloating and soothes the stomach. It reduces occasional diarrhea. Now, a lot of people think of chamomile as something for rest or sleep or relaxation. Well, it does that too, but it also helps your gut. A couple of other herbs that I really love are marshmallow root and slippery elm. They're what's called emollients, and they soothe your gut lining. So if you have an upset stomach, you have pain in your tummy, those are very, very helpful. So I would suggest trying those. Okay. So, can I post? Yes, I will, Mackenzie. I'll post those. I'll post the bacteria. Is that what you're talking about, or the herbs? Or everything? I'll post it all. Okay, what else questions do you guys have? Do you have any other questions about probiotics, or you want me to post the probiotics? I will, yeah. Yeah, because honestly, this is pretty new information. This is all new research. I mean, we knew some of it, but we didn't know all of this. And when I was using it way back, we kind of used the shotgun style. You know, we had a lot of those bugs involved, but the research hadn't been done yet on the individual activities of different probiotics. But now we have that, so it's very exciting. And we're getting closer and closer. And then now we know, you know, like everybody probably doesn't need the mood probiotic. So if you don't have that in yours, you don't need that. But yeah, I'll figure out a way to do that. Are there tests to see which probiotics are best for you? Well, as you know, there are tests to see which probiotics you have, and then we can see which ones aren't there. No, so and then compare that notes to what your symptoms are, and see if you need it or not. Does that make sense? Can fatty liver be reversed by using probiotics? Fatty liver can be helped a lot by using probiotics, and any liver disease for that matter. Yes. Helps reduce inflammation in your liver, which causes fatty liver unless you drink, and then it's not going to reduce that. You're still having to deal with that toxin. So, but it's really amazing, you know, is that people that don't drink can get fatty liver even if they're not fat, and that's the result of having an imbalanced gut. So those people, you can be assured, need probiotics for sure. And I'll post the ones that are active for that. Okay? What else you got, guys? I love questions. So, I know one thing I wanted to say. Did you know, okay, this is something most people don't know. Eating a lot of meat causes meat-eating probiotics to live in your gut. Or I guess I should call it meat-eating bad bacteria. And they're super inflammatory. So, and if you eat meat that's been raised regeneratively, you don't get the same problem, which is really interesting to me because, you know, you think meat is meat, but meat is not meat. Not all meats are created equally. And I just recently had the Blue Nest people on my podcast, and I learned a lot from them. And I've always been a pro-regenerative farm advocate because it turns out that the meat from regenerative farms, because they raise them as the buffalo roam. Okay, so they have them in a certain hectare of land for a period of time, and you know they're only in there for a short period of time. They move them, and they may not come back to that first hectare of land for a year. And there's magic behind that because that is the way that the buffalo roamed and grazed. They'd eat from here and they'd eat the grass about halfway down. Then they'd move. They'd go over here and they'd eat the grass about halfway down because that's the best grass. It probably tastes the best, but we know nutritionally it's the best. And if they do that, biomimicry in regenerative farms, the cows, first of all, they're super happy, but which I love, but also they're the most full of phytochemicals that are good for us, good for them, and it's good for the planet because when you only eat the grass halfway down, it comes back more robust, like 4 times more grass than was there before. And then all of their pee and poop and everything, they work it into the ground with their hooves. It's phenomenal. Like, you know, why we didn't think of this before. Nature is always smarter than we are. We think we're smarter, We're not. But, and it turns out if you do that, you can literally make 4 times more, because everybody says, well, you can't do regenerative farming because it's not enough to support the meat-eating population or whatever. It actually is, because it turns the same amount of land into like 4 times that land by increasing the amount of grass. And so the big point here is the meat from a regenerative farm is healthy. It has super amount of phytochemicals in it. It has omega-3s in it, like salmon does, but the cows aren't overfished like the salmon are. And it's an incredible source of nutrition. So check it out, Blue Nest Beef, BlueNestBeef.com, and listen to my podcast, Blue Nest Beef, and learn about it. But it's good for the planet, it's good for us, right? I always say that, and then it turns out to be true once again. So the probiotic I recommend is mine. It's Randall Wellness Synbiotic. I think it's in the store, yeah. If not, just call the office, you know the number, or look it up, 818-591-7600. Yeah, I mean, should they be refrigerated? Most of the really good probiotics now are pretty resistant. I mean, you wouldn't want to leave them in your car during the summer, but, you know, if in a regular temperature house, they're probably okay. If you want to be super careful, because honestly, you should be eating those up in enough time. They're not going to get damaged anyway, because you're going to take one with breakfast, and you're going to take one with dinner. So they're gone, you know, in 60 days. So it really doesn't matter if you have them out where you're regular. I just put them all on the microwave, the ones I'm taking. And so they all run out about the same time and works out. And they don't get damaged. The other way that you can follow, you know, if you need them or not, is look at your tongue. If your tongue is white and coated, you probably have a gut problem. If you're not a smoker, you probably have a gut problem. And if it's pink and homogeneous, then your gut's pretty good. Most likely. That's Chinese medicine, but at my office, if you have symptoms, if you have gas, bloating, bad breath, you know, any of these kind of symptoms, diarrhea, constipation, I like to do a DNA stool test, which we've only had for a short time. Let's see, maybe 3 or 4 years now. And I just love it because I can help people much better, much more accurately. I can see their total microbiome, and then I can see what they don't have. And like I said, compare it to their symptoms, and then we've got it. You know, we got the answer, so. Anything else? Oh, also for, you know, I mentioned Spore Biotics. I think Spore Biotics are really good for people. They're basically from the earth, you know. They're really good for people who have SIBO-like symptoms, super bloating, and because they act like probiotics from the earth, and they help balance better without causing gas or things like that. Can probiotics be taken in liquid for better absorption? Well, having them in liquid doesn't make the absorption better necessarily, and particularly if the liquid is milk. Milk is not really healthy for you. It's inflammatory. You know, it causes inflammation. It causes diabetes. Cow's milk is really not meant for people to consume. We don't have the enzymes for it. We don't have the digestive enzymes for it. And it causes inflammation in our body. You know, most cow's milk even if it's organic, they allow them to have 750 white cells, pus cells, per milliliter. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that does not sound appetizing to me. I really love oat milk. It's creamy, like the original. It's creamy like cow's milk. It makes my stomach feel real good. If you can't tolerate oats, it doesn't have any gluten in it. It's just awesome. I mean, if you prefer almond milk or coconut milk or whatever, that's fine. I'm fine with that. But I really like oat milk. For me, it's really well tolerated. And of course, you can get it organic. And I made some mashed potatoes the other day with oat milk and Miyoko's organic butter. Oh my God, they're to die for. I mean, they taste fabulous. That Miyoko butter is amazing. It tastes like real. And the oat milk just did the trick. Any other questions, gorgeous people? You're going to send me back on the planet again. And then it's going to get unhappy. You know, the other thing I really love about regeneratively grown animals, other than them being really happy, the standard cow requires a lot of water. Okay, and then they grow the grain for the cow, of course, separately. They grow, corn and grain to feed the cow, and they till the land. And when they till the land, that's the biggest release of carbon into the atmosphere that we do. It's not carbon emissions. Don't believe it. It's far, far outweighs the amount of carbon that's released by emissions. I'm not saying the emissions are good. I'm just saying if you took every single carbon machine, boat, motorcycle, car, anything, airplane on the planet, and you added up the carbon emissions, it doesn't even come close to what growing that grain plus the emissions from the cows causes. So the greenhouse gases are from growing cattle for food. But they don't want us to know it, and they poo-poo it because of money. The meat industry is incredibly powerful. I mean, it's been proven that 75% of deaths come from meat. Not regenerative meat, but standardly grown industrialized meat. When you combine the chemicals, and then when you think about the amount of water it takes 2,500 gallons to feed a single cow, a single hamburger. That's crazy. The water is the next gold, they're saying. So we really need to think about what we're eating. It's not that meat is bad, it's just the way that they're raising it is bad. So 1,500 gallons per person per day of water. And that mostly comes from the consumption of animals, eggs, and dairy. So one hamburger is 660 gallons of water. 5,500 gallons of water to grow 1 pound of beef. It's not the same with regenerative farming. They don't need that amount of water. They get it from the land. Okay? And that's why the Amazon's being destroyed as well, because they mow it down to grow food for the cattle. We need the Amazon. It's the lungs of our planet. So, I'm always going to return to that when you don't ask me questions. So you should ask me a question. Any more questions? I just love this regenerative farms because the other regenerative farms that are, these are the ones that are on the plains, the blue nest. They're called blue nest beef because they're saving the birds. The plains birds had totally almost vanished. There's a book called Silent Spring. I can't remember the authoress, but look it up. It's a very good book. And when that book came out, that people paid more attention to what kind of food they were eating. So, what they're trying, they are bringing, they are Audubon Society approved because the regenerative farming is bringing the birds back. And it's a beautiful thing. So you want that. What milligrams of probiotics is good? It's not really milligrams, it's the count. It's the count of the bugs in the capsules in the probiotic. And it honestly is different for different people. And it depends on what you have. So I say generally 50, but if you have like a SIBO-like thing, that could be too many for you. And if you have 80 or 100, it could be too many. So you can take too many. I'm actually seeing that a lot now on my stool tests. As a matter of fact, it used to always be that in the good zone, in the beneficial bacteria, that the bacteria would be too small, almost 100% of the time. No more. Now they're like elevated a lot of the time. I think it's because people are more aware, which is a good thing, but they're not balanced. There's some are like really too high, and then some don't exist at all. So, yeah, I'll put those bacteria, and I'll put the herbs up on a post so you guys can take care of your guts, or just call me. Come in, do a telemedicine. I'm doing telemedicine either by Zoom or FaceTime or just talking, or come in. So we're all vaccinated. I got the Johnson & Johnson. I was very happy about that. Yes, Ellen, they can, but I thought we looked at yours. We'll have to look at your chart and see what we did before, but because if there are certain bacteria there that you don't have, that don't have enough GABA or things like that, it can cause headaches or migraines. This we know. Health begins in the gut, and part of the balance of the gut is having the right bacteria, and part of the balance of the gut is having the right food. So that's really not hard. When you think about it, it sort of makes sense, right? Eat the right thing, keep the environment healthy, eat the proper amount of fiber, which keeps the bacteria healthy and hanging around, and it's going to create the right chemicals in your body. And it's going to help almost everything you can think of. From headaches to joint pain to bowel function to bones to cognitive functionality. Everything. Yeah, so they affect a lot. We are not meant to be without our passengers. It's a symbiotic relationship. To have bacteria in our gut, and we have to eat the way that our ancestors did in order to maintain them properly. If you take care of those little bugs, this applies to the soil too. If you take care of those little bugs, we're gonna save the planet. We're gonna save ourselves. We're gonna heal ourselves, heal the planet. Because in a handful of soil that's healthy, like from a regenerative farm or whatever, that don't till and don't put chemicals, there are more organisms than people that ever existed on the planet. Think of that. That always blows me away. When you take soil, which shouldn't even be called soil, it's dirt, from the farm next door that's been treated with Monsanto over and over again, there are no bugs in it, which is why the Monsanto stops working. And we're desertifying the land, meaning turning it into desert. We're turning the land into desert. And about 65% of it is now desert. So we can't go on doing that. We've got to change the farming to a healthy way. And this regenerative farming is one. It doesn't just apply to animals. It also applies to herbs and fruits and vegetables and growing anything. The regenerative farms that are on the rivers in the eastern states grow apples and oranges and fruits and berries. The ones in the plain states mostly do what I was talking about, the animals, but that's the grasses. But the main thing is that earth needs to be covered with plants. Or what? The temperature of the earth is going up. Global warming. That's what causes global warming. Having these chemicalized farms where they're bare. They're bare a vast majority of the time. That's not sustainable. And a lot of these farms, they can't even grow stuff on them no matter how much chemicals they put now. That's just poisoning us, poisoning the planet, the children, and animals and plants and things. So we really got to get rid of the chemicals, and we really got to start farming naturally. That's the answer. Maybe Biden can learn about that soon, hopefully. Okay, guys, I love you. Thanks for coming. Okay, I'm going to go now. See you next week. Bye.